But at the end of the day, you want to have analytics set up on your website to track revenue, right? For companies selling products, it's much easier than a service industry because you know how much you're making.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Zaid Ammari is a leading expert in data-driven digital marketing, specializing in analytics and actionable insights derived from data. He is the founder of PPC Masterminds and serves as a speaker and trainer at zaidammari.com with over 5,000 students. Zaid helps businesses build and run profitable, data-driven digital campaigns. His expertise focuses on optimizing Google Ads to maximize revenue by leveraging insights from competitors' ad spend and strategies. You can learn valuable tips and strategies from Zaid on how to analyze competitors' Google Ads, identify effective keywords, and avoid common pitfalls to optimize your own campaigns for better performance. So Zaid, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Candy, for having me.
I am looking forward to this conversation. But before I get into questions on the specific topic we're going to chat about today, I would love for you to share your story of how you began working with digital marketing.
Absolutely, yeah. Basically, I have a finance degree, so I started off working in a bank. So started working up as a minimum wage bank employee. I have to clock into the bank every day. And if you're, 5 minutes late, they deduct from your salary. Basically, wasn't able to afford much, was living like paycheck to paycheck, if that. And during working at the bank, I saw an opportunity to open a Craigslist-like website for selling cars in my home country, Jordan. And basically, I used my savings and I paid a developer, opened up a website, and started going like door to door after work to take pictures of cars and put them up and put posters up and try to get traffic to the website. And I realized during that building a website is the easy part. Getting traffic to the website is the hard part. And this is back in 2011, 2010. So, things were still starting out. Like Facebook was pretty fresh. So once I realized, traffic is the key, I started spending some money on Google Ads myself because I'm trying to grow my website. And I realized that it's very difficult and confusing for a lot of people. And I kind of learned by losing my own money. And so after a while, I sold my website. And I decided to move to LA and stayed at a friend's house until I found a job at an agency and learned. Basically, started working at an agency doing Google Ads, analytics, data analysis, optimizations, and worked there for 3 years. Learned my way up, and then I opened up my own agency.
Perfect. Well, I do know that this can be confusing for people in terms of, yes, I know there's Google Ads, there's analytics, but I don't even know like what to do with all this information. It's really hard for me to take like this data and figure out how can I make some changes to improve, to attract more to my, website or anything. So do you want to maybe talk about even how the ads work, how that turns into the analytics, and what we could do with that information to make some improvements?
Yeah, absolutely. The ads, depending on your business, there's different types of ads that you can run now in 2024 with Google. So if you're selling products, you probably want to be running shopping ads. Those are the ones where you see the picture of the product on Google, and then people click on it, go straight to your product page, and then they buy. And then for people getting, service businesses trying to get leads, you would want to run search campaigns which are mainly based on keywords. So you would tell Google, I want to bid on this specific keyword, and that this keyword would trigger a specific ad that you tell Google, that you write up for Google, and then someone would click on that ad, go to your website, and potentially submit a form. So these are the two main types of, I would say, campaigns for those two types of businesses. But at the end of the day, you want to have analytics set up on your website to track revenue, right? For companies selling products, it's much easier than a service industry because you know how much you're making. And it's just easier to set it up with Google Analytics and link it up to Google Ads. Like there's a ton of tutorials online. It's just a couple of clicks and things here and there. You would set it up. Someone buys my product. You know how much you're making from that product, so you know your revenue in Google Analytics. For service businesses, it's a little harder because someone can submit a form, like I get sometimes, and then we end up on a call and they're asking me how they can get access to their Facebook account. Like they don't know how to reset their password. So it's like you don't know the quality of the lead, and you don't know how long it's going to take for them to actually purchase, if they purchase. So for service related businesses, you might, if you're not too tech savvy, like you don't have a developer, you want to keep track of it in like a spreadsheet. You want to know how many people submitted the form. You could do that with Google Analytics, but if you want to know the value of the lead, you would want to hook it up. I mean, depending how tech savvy you are, you could do it. There's different tools that you could do it, but otherwise you want to do with like a Google spreadsheet so that you understand, okay, this month I spent 3,000, 10,000, and this is how much I made back, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how do they then take that information from the analytics though and say, well, this isn't meeting the goal that I had, I need to change some things to, start attracting more people. Like what do they actually do with that data, and how do they make those changes to improve?
Got you. A lot of people do a couple of mistakes with that. So the number one mistake I see is they track a lot of different things that are not valuable. So you want to track only things that like make you money, right? Like if someone clicks on a button, that's not really valuable. Like you want to track someone submitting a form. You want to track a purchase. You want to track an add to cart, maybe, just so that you can kind of see how many people are adding stuff to cart and how many people are checking out. So when you go into your analytics account, you might be overwhelmed by the amount of data that's in there. What you want to do is kind of look at the bigger picture. So you could do like a top level report, and then you can like dig deeper, right? If I'm running a Google Ads account, let's say with 10 campaigns, and I want to optimize it, what I would do is I would look at each campaign one by one. So I would look at the total campaigns. I'll see which campaign is doing better. The ones that are not doing better, you could either turn them off completely, or you could just go into that campaign and check which ad groups within that campaign are not doing better, right? And then if you want to go more granular, you can go into the ad group and see which keywords are not doing better, right? It just depends on how aggressive you want to optimize and how much money you're spending in your account. Usually, the way I look at it is you want to have enough data to make informative decisions, and that to us is around 100 and 150 clicks. So we don't make big decisions unless there's enough clicks on a certain keyword or a certain ad. Like I wouldn't go into a campaign and see, there's two ads that are being tested. One ad has 150 clicks and one ad has 20 clicks. And, the one that has 20 clicks, it's showing amazing results versus the 150. I would wait a little bit because they're not like equally weighted kind of thing. You know what I mean? And you don't want to make like decisions too quickly, but also you don't want to make them too slow. So what we use is like 150 is the benchmark clicks. And another way you could do it is if you go into your Google Analytics account and you look at your conversion rate from, let's say, organic traffic, right? Or organic traffic usually converts at a higher rate. So the number of people that come in from Google search, like just a free one, you could use that number as a benchmark, and then compare to that number. So if your organic traffic is converting at, let's say 10%, use 10% as a benchmark and just assume that paid media should be converting like a little bit less than that, because usually people who type in your brand name in Google, they already know you, so they're the higher chance that they convert. So you could use that benchmark and there's maybe 30% less, and use that as like your goal for paid media to start.
Perfect. Well, I know you talk about you can analyze like your competitors' Google ads and figure out maybe what you can do that will help your own business, compared to your competitors. So can you maybe talk about those steps of how you really analyze what their ads are, how they're doing their strategy, and how you can maybe implement that for your own company?
Absolutely. So obviously you can't get access to their Google Ads account.
Right.
That'd be amazing, but unfortunately that's not how it works. What you could do is you can use competitive analysis tools like SEMrush, SEMrush, and if you type in your competitor's website in there, they would give you what their ads are, like what ads they're running, what keywords they're using, if they have landing pages, right? So you would want to do analysis on at least your top 3 competitors. You don't want to go and do an analysis on like 20 competitors. Just pick 3 that are super related to you, that are very similar to you, either sell very similar things or are your direct competitor, and then you can just compare their ads, and you can tell which ads they ran the longest, because the tool tells you like this ad was first seen, for example, a year ago, right? And if it's still running, that means obviously it's like it's one of their good ads. So you want to put a list of that together and then kind of look at the copy in their ad. You'll get some hints on like what kind of content you should write in the ad, and you can look at their keywords. You can see what keywords they're bidding on. Same thing. So you could use their money to your advantage, right? They spend a lot of money testing, and if you can figure out, okay, well, it looks like these are the keywords they're going after, these are the ads they're going after, basically you just saved yourself all the testing money that they spent.
Well, I know too that those keywords can be, a wide range of prices too. So how do you determine what keywords to use and what the cost might be for you to actually be using those same words? And, how do you budget that to make sure that you're actually getting clicks and can afford, to have those keywords too? I guess there's a lot in that question, but, I know someone's probably listening saying, well, I would love to be able to use the keywords, but from what I've heard, it's going to cost me too much to really be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. On my website, ppcmasterminds.com, there is a free calculator, and it has 2 tabs on it, one for e-commerce and one for like service businesses. What you could do is you can run estimations. So you could go in and be like, okay, well, I want to spend 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, and my estimated conversion rate, which again you could use from your organic. If your organic conversion is 10%, you might want to just do like 5% for paid. And you can go into Google Ads keyword planner. So if you sign up to Google Ads, they have a Google Ads keyword planner. You plug in maybe 10 of your high intent keywords, like keywords people are going to search, and they will purchase with, right? And they would give you an estimated cost per click. So you could add if you input all these numbers in the calculator, you'll see like, okay, am I gonna make money with this? Is it worth it for me? How much should I pay per click? So you can play with the numbers once you add it in the calculator and just hit enter, and then you'll see at the bottom like, okay, my estimated return on investment is positive or negative, right? And I would highly suggest for everyone to at least budget for 3 to 6 months before running like Google Ads, because you don't want to be like, well, you know what, I have 3,000 this month, but then next month you're like, oh man, like you have nightmares when you're sleeping, like, oh, like, you have anxiety, like, oh my God, I don't want to spend this much, like,
Mm-hmm.
so you want to have that money set aside so that you're not like having anxiety. You have a plan. You know what I mean? You're not just going and sporadically being like, well, you know what? Let me just spend in February. Let me just, let me pause my account in March. And obviously try to spend in the months, if you're a seasonal business, try to spend in the months that a lot of people are looking for your service, so, but definitely budget and plan ahead of time, and don't just like, okay, well, I want to start Google Ads today and, run it, and then, oh, well, I'm not getting results, I'm going to turn it off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you need a plan, like a long-term plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, the numbers that you threw out there, I think will sound scary to a lot of the listeners that we have. You said 3,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 a month. And a lot of our, listeners are small businesses that don't have a huge marketing budget. So for those companies, is it even worth using the Google Ads then? Because they won't have as much available to spend as you were recommending.
You can spend as much as you want, right? It's just basically, like, for example, for service businesses, Google offers something called LSAs, which is listing service ads. So these ones basically, for, like, let's say you're an HVAC person, or plumbing, roofer, a lawyer. I mean, lawyers can afford 5,000, 10,000. But if you're like, just running any service related home repair business, you can run LSAs. And how that works is you just sign up, Google verifies you, and then they send you leads, and you just pay for the lead. So you can tell Google, I want to spend $500 a month. They'll be like, okay, well, we're gonna charge you $50 for each lead, and you only pay if it's a good lead. So when when that person calls you through the LSA, you want to make sure that on the phone call, because it's all recorded, you tell that person, like, okay, well, I can help you. If you tell a lead, I'm going let me come and check out the work, to Google, that's a positive signal. But if someone calls you and they're like, can you come and install solar panels on my roof, and you don't do that, you should explicitly say, well, you know what, sorry, we don't do that, because then you can ask for a refund for that lead. So that account type, LSAs, is different than paying for keywords and e-commerce and all that stuff, right? So that's one option. But if you don't have $3,000, $5,000 to spend on search campaigns, and you want to do that, what I would suggest is focus on, like, come up with 10 keywords that people will type in, that would purchase from you, or at least like submit your lead form. And you can set up a campaign with just these keywords on exact match. So basically, you tell Google, I just want, when someone types in this exact keyword, to show my ad. And you could set your budget as low as you want, and just basically let it run slowly, right? You wouldn't necessarily need to spend 3,000 a month and get so much data and you don't know what to do with it. You could just run 10 keywords, and then with a small budget, and then just wait for the data to accumulate, and then you can optimize from there.
Well, do you recommend to maybe including in those keywords you're setting up, like, things that are misspelled, right? Because sometimes people who might be doing search might spell something incorrectly. Or do you just recommend, for instance, in our industry, bookkeeping, sometimes people only do 1K, instead of the 2Ks in there. So do you recommend having, like, both, or, like, what would you say in that situation?
No, misspellings are taken into account with Google. That you don't have to add misspellings. They
Okay.
know, they know what's happening. You don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to add like a dash or a space. That would trigger your ad. If you're bidding on bookkeeping, it's gonna trigger your ad for, like, bookkeeping with 1K, bookkeeping 2 words, even like accounting work. Like, sometimes, you know what I mean. It's just they kind of look at what kind of intent is this person like looking for. Is it
Right.
similar?
Okay.
Is it very similar to that keyword? Then they'll show your ad. But a good, like, One tip that I would say is you could put your pricing in the ad copy. So that way, if someone sees your ad and they're like, well, you know what, I can't afford this, then they wouldn't click on your ad, so you wouldn't end up paying for that ad, right? So you'll save yourself a click if you put your pricing in the actual ad copy when that pops up on Google.
Well, are they seeing enough of that content to be able to see your pricing? Like, how does that work? Because it seems like maybe if you see it, it's like got a line or two, maybe at the most, not like all of the details. So how do you make sure that they actually see that before they click?
Google allows you to put in 3 headlines. They allow you to put 15 headlines and 4 descriptions. What I like to do is I only put the minimum, because I don't want to tell, like, if you look at it from a data perspective, if you give Google 15 headlines and 4 descriptions, that's 15 to the power of 4. That's like thousands of variations, and it would never, it will take forever to figure out, okay, which variation works the best. So what I do is I just put 3 headlines and 2 descriptions, and they show those 3 headlines and 2 descriptions. So as long as you put your pricing or whatever you want to show in the 3 headlines, in one of the headlines, right? It'll show up. The only thing is, when they say 3 headlines, they might put headline 1 before headline 2 or headline 3 before headline 2, just the order, but they'll still show all the 3 headlines and the 2 descriptions in the
Okay.
ad. Yeah.
So it can change. Well, what if someone really can't quote a price because it's dependent on their needs? Like, do you just say our typical clients are between this much and this much, or like, how do you handle that? Because you don't want someone to also assume when you give a range and they're thinking it's the low end, right? Then they come and higher.
You
Like, how do
could
you
put
handle
like
that?
you could put starting at, I would say. I mean, you don't have to put the price in the ad if it's too difficult. Like, always, I'll try to always keep things simple. Like, if it's too complicated and you don't want someone to think, like, starting at $500, and then they call you and be like, well, you know what, your ad said $500, then yeah, you don't want to fall into that trap. But usually, if they actually read the ad, and they click on it and they go to your page, you can like reiterate that on the page too. Like, we custom quote you based on your needs, starting at this much. A lot of home repair, for example, businesses, they would say, like, we'll come to your house, like, it's like $200, and then if we don't end up working with you, it's refundable. But yeah, you could reiterate it on the landing page. You could put more details on the landing page because you don't have enough space in the actual ad copy.
Right. Well, do you have like a strategy of how to test what's working, and what to change to make things even better if you're running these ads and maybe you're not getting everything that you think that you would be getting from them, or the final customer, maybe they're clicking, but they're not the right customer in the long run? Like, how do you fine tune that?
Yeah, you would have to get more acquainted with the different metrics in Google Ads. So number one is you want to be tracking conversions, is what they call them. Conversions is basically an actionable, like a click that's worth something to you. Like, a form submission is a conversion. A purchase is a conversion. A phone call is a conversion, right? And so if you're tracking that, you can go and look at your campaigns, and at a top level, you can be like, okay, well, campaign 1 is converting at 10%. Campaign 2 is converting at 20%. Campaign 1 is costing me $50 per conversion. Campaign 2 is costing me $80 per conversion. So you could turn off campaign 2 because even though it's a higher conversion rate, it's costing you more. You know what I mean? It's just these small decisions that you could take to fine tune your campaign. And then you can also go inside the campaign and figure out, which ad group is converting the best. And it just depends how granular you want to go with it, right? As long as you have conversion tracking set up and you're seeing, okay, it's costing me this much per conversion, and you can see your conversion rate, you can fine tune with that. For the ads, specifically, the way you optimize ads is you look at something called the click-through rate, which is short for CTR. And the click-through rate is basically how many people saw your ad versus how many people clicked on it. So the way you want to look at ads is basically they're like, let's say you have a store. The window to your store is the ad copy, right? The more people that click, they see something in the window, they're like, oh, I want to go in. That's a good ad, right? Versus you don't want to look at the ad and be like, well, this ad is converting at a higher rate. You could do that too, right? You could look like some ad could have a higher click-through rate, so a lot more people are like clicking on it, going to your website, but they're not converting. That would tell you that your ad copy might be kind of misleading, or they're misunderstanding your ad, right? But usually when we optimize the ad copy, the way I write the ad copy is very specific and it makes sense to the keyword search. So when I optimize, I look at the CTR. So if I see an ad getting 20% CTR versus 10%, I would turn off the 10% and then make a new one and add it to the rotation to test. So you want to test at least 2 ad copies per ad group, because if you're not testing, you're not learning, right? And a lot of business owners, they'll spend money and then at the end they'll be like, man, I wasted so much money. But in reality, you don't waste it if you learn from it, right? Like that's what we call optimization. Is you spend money, you look at the data, you test, you fail quick, and then you optimize, and you test, you fail quick, and you optimize. At the end of the day, your results should be improving. Your trend line for conversions should be kind of going upward.
Perfect. Well, I know we are coming close to the end of the time that we have together today, so I'd like to ask if you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners, and if they want more information or they want to connect with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I would say if you want to budget for your Google Ads, definitely use the free calculator on my website, PPC Masterminds. You can find it in the main menu. If you do have an existing Google Ads account, I'm happy to do a free audit. What I do is I would go into your Google Ads account and I will send you a walkthrough of what to do and how to fix it. And definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you need advice or recommendations, I'm happy to do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Zaid, for being a guest on my show and talking on this topic. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed the discussion, and I'm sure the listeners have learned a lot as well.
Thank you, Candy, for having me. I appreciate it.
And to the listener, I hope you enjoyed today's topic. And if you want to hear additional information, you can find more content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.